2030. So we've got to take the actions to meet those targets. We've got to match what we've done in electricity in other areas. That means, firstly, decarbonising how we heat our homes. Our manifesto will have a massive programme of investment proposed for decarbonising heat. We've got to do more to cut transport emissions. I want to see us reduce car kilometres by 20% at least by 2030. Decarbonise our railways. One of our commitments in this election is to take a railway into public ownership to help us to do that. Invest more in public transport. And Lorna's right about the natural environment. More than 80% of all the trees planted in the UK are planted in Scotland. We're investing more in reforestation, in restoring peatlands. So we, in December last year, published the updated climate change plan. There's 100 new policies in that, 40 policies where we up the scale of ambition. But this takes all of us to work together and to work with Civic Scotland. And let me say, I'll work with anybody in Parliament and outside of Parliament to make sure that we meet that moral obligation, because it is a moral obligation to end our contribution to climate change.
Now, I'm conscious we need to talk to Willie Rennie about climate change, but first let's hear from Jim.
Hi. One of the topics there about climate change, and we heard from the Greens about how they would want to stop oil and gas exploration. But we hear from all the parties about investing in different things, investing in education, investing in health, investing in jobs. But we don't hear anything from any of the parties about how they're going to pay for it. And oil and gas, despite the fact there are issues found about the planet, contribute significantly to the Scottish economy. So how are we going to pay for all the promises that the different politicians are making?
We will try to ask them. Let's hear from Marjorie first.
So, just to support the previous comment, if we are to take on board our share of the public debt, the unprecedented public debt that has come as a consequence of COVID, in circumstances where we separate from the UK, then we would have to factor in also that debt to our future plans. So without any quarrel about the ambition of the plans, how does that square up with paying off public debt that we would inherit and for money that we have spent?
Willie Rennie, it comes down to, can we afford to tackle climate change?
Yes, we can't. We can't afford not to. I mean, we've had a national purpose through the pandemic. The country's come together, put a huge effort in, made massive sacrifices. We need the same national purpose to deal with climate change. It's given us a big jolt. It's shown that we don't actually have to head around the country all the time in cars. It shows that we can actually do an awful lot more remotely. We've got tremendous assets in this country. You know, whether it's the peat bogs that absorb so much of the carbon, or the forests that we're planting, or whether it's the renewable energy sources, whether it's offshore wind, onshore, we need to exploit all of those opportunities. But what's crucial in terms of how to pay for this, because this can't be like the transition in previous generations where people have lost out. We need to make sure that the workers get the jobs for the future. And that's why it's a travesty that we're about to build a whole, I think it's 114 wind turbines off the Scottish coast. Now, the BIFAB production facility bid for 4 and got none. Now, we cannot afford to have these massive jackets built on the other side of the planet and shipped all the way over here for the workers at Methil to see them getting built and not have any of the jobs. Absolutely. So we need to have the just transition to make this work, but we can't afford not to do it.
All right, Willie Rennie, thank you for that. Now, we just have a few minutes left of the programme, so I'm just going to ask each of you. I think we all know that public discourse has never been more tribal or more polarised than it feels at the moment. So I'm interested, will you make a pledge to swiftly tackle any abusive behaviour that is going on through this election that takes place in your party's name? Who would like to answer that first?
Unequivocally, yes.
Yes.
Unequivocally, yes.
And that means people who are taking to social media, for instance, who may or may not be members of your party, it may take you a while to check that out, you will say you are not helping, or you will call them out if they are rude or name-calling to people who support other parties.
See, look, we don't have, we can't pick and choose on these issues. I know from the women that are on the panel, they'll know from my own experiences as a ethnic minority in politics, is that we can't pick and choose. Doesn't matter where it comes from or who it's directed towards. whether they're on our side or on a different side, we have a duty to condemn those perpetrators, and we have a duty to show solidarity with the victims. And that's a cast iron commitment from me, because some things go beyond our party politics, and challenging prejudice and hatred has to go beyond our party politics.
Willie Rennie?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's depressing that we get to such a state in Scottish politics that we have to resort to abuse to get our points across. And I think we've all got to, I think we all agree. I think we've got to work together, stand together. When Anis was abused the other day, we all stood with him against the abuser. And I think that we need to do that every single time. There will be people in all our parties that do this, but how we react is incredibly important. And I can guarantee I will act the right way.
And Douglas Ross, as a party leader, do you have a responsibility to set the tone and to try and make sure that people don't think that they're helping your party by abusing people who don't support it?
Yes, and we all do. And I think we will all agree that we would take urgent action if that was highlighted. Just today, I was doing an interview outside the Scottish Parliament, and one person walked past saying they wanted to shoot me, and another person wanted a socially distanced selfie. And that's the nature of Scottish politics just now. We are so divided. And I just wonder why Scottish Labour can't understand the threat we're facing, because every single question from our audience today has gone back to education, our economy, on health service. It all goes back to the distraction of a referendum. So the audience get it. Why don't you?
Can I say
Let me respond to this, because it's an issue we're talking about, prejudice in our society.
But why is it there?
You know I don't support independence, and you know I don't support a referendum, but you are... Grow up. Have you noticed we're in the midst of a pandemic? Have you not noticed that 10,000 of our fellow citizens have lost their life? Have you not noticed the scale of the challenge our country faces? And you come to this stage on an issue, a question of prejudice and hate, when we are trying to come together as one. You bring in your own...
Because every single audience questioned it. Every single audience questioned it. That's the threat.
Utterly shameful.
Now, what can politicians do to try to raise the tone of the debate so that we can discuss respectfully with people with whom we disagree without abusing them?
I have very strong opinions about this, and part of it, I think, is that we need to have a parliament that really reflects the people of Scotland. We need to have gender balance in parliament. We need more women. When we have too many old, wealthy, white men making decisions, they make decisions in a certain way, and we need to move on. More women involved in decision-making, more ethnic minorities, more disabled people, more trans people. We need a parliament that really looks like Scotland, and that's why I'm proud that I'm part of a candidate list that's 70% women that we've brought to the Scottish Parliament, because we are committed to correcting that balance and make sure the Parliament is truly represented.
Thank you. And Nicola Sturgeon, I mean, there are a lot of your own supporters indulge in abusing people who don't agree with them.
Yeah, and I will call that out whenever it needs to be called out. I think it's really important we all recognise our responsibility for this, and that we don't just call it out when it's another party doing it. And we try, you know, none of us are perfect on this, but the experience of the pandemic in the last year has changed my perspective on some of this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But let's rise to the occasion. Let's try to, given the legitimate differences between us, focus on what we can agree on, and not use something like this as an opportunity to criticise and attack somebody who probably gets more abuse on social media than most of us. So, you know, let's all, not just in our rhetoric, but in how we behave, try to rise to the occasion of having civilised discourse. There's nothing wrong in a democracy with passionately disagreeing. That's the essence of democracy. But let's do it in a civilised and respectful way.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. That's all we have time for tonight. The coverage of the debate and the campaign continues right across the BBC. You can keep up to date with the very latest on our website if you visit